Hello, welcome to another walkthrough. Not quite a tutorial because the next project is quite big, quite complex. If I would want to explain it or build it up from scratch, you'd be here forever, and I'm sure you've got better things to do. So hence just a walkthrough. Now, second thing of note, I'm doing this in Davinci Resolve, but I have to say I actually developed the whole thing in Fusion standalone because that is, in my experience, a lot more efficient. Now, if you don't have, or if you have issues running this project because it may be too slow on your computer, do consider downloading the free version, an older free version of Fusion standalone. So for instance, on the Blackmagic Design website, if you go to the software section and then go to the latest downloads and really scroll down to 2018 or more, specifically 30th of July, you can find the last version they had of the free Fusion free. There's 9.0.2. I actually created this whole effect in this version. Well, I actually have the studio version, but I don't make use of any studio type of nodes. So if you have got performance issues, or if you want to give Fusion standalone a whirl, download it here. Okay, but I'll show it in Davinci Resolve because I understand that most of you guys are using Resolve. Anyways, in Resolve, we will start with an empty Fusion composition. And if I can drag it in, there we go. Hit Ctrl D or Command D, and we'll change the duration to 500 frames. Then we'll head over into the Fusion tab, and you can see here already a media out, but it tends to disappear when you import a Fusion composition. So you need to navigate to wherever you downloaded the file, open it up, and you see this fairly, well, I thought it was a structured file, but I know it looks still quite messy, but you know, you'll have to work with it. So what we will want to do first is add in a media out like so, and hook that in. And I won't display the end result yet, right? Because that takes quite a bit of time, but I'll get to that later. So what we'll do instead is a work left to right. Okay, so we've got the text here. In fact, we've got two text plus nodes here and here. I'll display the first one here and the second one there. So it's the add grunge, right? If you want to change this, probably the first thing you'll need to do anyways is change the font, because you may not have this font installed. So change it to something you've got, obviously. And of course, change the text. Now, this all looks a bit boring, but if you then go to the node over here, the merge 5 node, and display that, here you see the sort of the 3D type effect, and that will be the input of our particle system later on. First of all, though, how do we get to this sort of 3D type of result? Now, I have to say, I got this technique of Vito at Pirates of Confusion, or Confusion. That's what this channel used to be called, I think. In any case, it's a very neat technique. So do head over to his site. You probably already know it anyways, and have a look there. I won't go into the details as to how it works because he does a much better job than I could ever do. In any case, what is important for you is that you can alter the look here by changing the erode, dilate, create bump map, and the parameters within there. And these are linked to both, basically. So these are linked together. These are instances of the same nodes, right? So when you change it here for the grunge text, it will also change for the at sign. So for instance, if we want to change the amount here, you can see it changes quite drastically. Right? It's pretty neat. Similarly, in the create bump map, you can change the height scale, and again, it changes quite radically. Okay, so maybe this is something we like. And if we want to alter the colors, you can do that here. Text color, head over to the color tab and change them here, right? You can do whatever, and this looks quite ugly. So you need to play around a bit. I went for the golden and silvery type look. And again, the silver you could change here. Okay, so that's it for the text. And once you're happy with that, and you may need to sort of sometimes, you know, reposition the text or something, you can do that with these transform nodes. Then the next section is the add grunge section. So if we display the merge 13, you can see here that some grunge is added, and that's just a whole bunch of fast noises and such, and some displacement and all that type of stuff. If you don't like it, you can just select the whole box and hit Ctrl P, and that overrides the whole thing, or that rather it bypasses the whole box. Okay, I like it though, so I keep it in. Now, here is where some of the magic is happening. This is the text animation, right? And this node here animates main text, which is just a fast noise. There we've got a brightness parameter that has been animated over time. So if we quickly head over to the spline tab and try to find it, which I always find hard in this overview. There we go. Here you can see this is being animated. So over time, at frame sort of 200, a bit over 200, it sort of stabilizes and then it goes the other way. So what does that mean? Well, I'll show you. Otherwise this wouldn't be a walkthrough. So let's first display this displays node here. So we're now at frame 110, and you can see what's happening. Right, if you go back to the first one, nothing is there, right? Because the text is building up. So due to the way the brightness parameter has been animated, the text is building up over time. So I'm just moving over a bit, skipping into the timeline, or skipping the timeline a bit, and there you can see it's slowly building up. Now that is if you want to change the animation, for instance, if you want it to be the other way around, you can just change the animation of this brightness value, right? So this then feeds in a roundabout kind of way into the particle system, and it does some clever stuff so that it only focuses on what is changing in the last few frames, and that will emit particles. So it's as if the particles are building up the text, right, rather than taking the whole text. Anyways, you can have a look at the detail here. But then it feeds into this particle system, and then you've got a whole bunch of stuff happening here, and I won't go into all of the detail, but important to note here is that I've got a bunch of 3D renderers. The main one with the main text and such, particle only, where I focus on the particles and can do some extra stuff with it, like adding some blur, trails and other stuff. I've got the mirror renderer, which makes use of a mirror camera, and the floor itself. Okay, and all these four will then be composited together, and then some highlights and soft glows added, and then you basically have the final result. Now, what you will notice though is, like, if you want to quickly display it, it won't be that quick. It will take time. So if you go to the middle of the composition somewhere, say to indeed 180, and then you want to either show this final one or maybe one of the renderers, the moment you do that, you know, it will take time, especially the first time if you go somewhere to the middle of the composition. When you then play it, it will still be slow, but it will not be as bothersome. Okay, so what's really, really important, whenever you're changing the text or anything up front, don't display this one directly, because that will take ages. So, you know, you make a change in the font, then everything will need to recalculate. So what I would really advise is, when you're working on the font, just display the merge 5, for instance, or even, you know, the very first text node. Don't do it with the end node, because it will take freaking ages and you'll get very, very frustrated. And I wouldn't want to be responsible for that. All right, so I will now, because I'm now happy with all of this, I will then quickly show it. Well, quickly, I'll hit 2 on my keypad, on my keyboard, and then you will see that will take a while. Well, I will fast forward a bit. And there we go. That probably took at around 2 minutes to render, right? So I always forget here, I want to get rid of my checker underlay. There we go. And there we've got the result. Okay. So again, this takes quite a long time, but here now that we've done this, we can easily go into the main renderer only and display that here. Right. And again, I don't want to get rid of my checker underlay, and then you can see here, particles only, You can see the mirror, renderer, the floor, and all that type of stuff. So you can then start sort of, you know, if you want to change the appearance, have a look at all the stuff that's happening in here. Now, of course, when you ultimately you want to render it, right? So when you head over to the edit tab, you see, okay, it's here. Don't try to play this because it really won't work. You can go to the deliver tab and then do the usual stuff. Now, I have to say that takes quite a while and it may seem like your computer is stuck, but just give it time. Okay, because you know, I had to probably wait a good few minutes before something was really happening. You know, went into the deliver tab, did all the stuff, and then it stayed at 0% for a long time. But eventually it did work. Now, if, however, you would go to Fusion standalone, right, and if I open it up here, right, I really prefer the navigation here. All you would need to do is add a saver and then, you know, save it as a whatever, and then it will work. By the way, what I can also advise, I should have mentioned that before, save it as an image sequence. So if something goes wrong, if it crashes or whatever, then you can pick up from where you left. If you do it as a movie file, then you can't. All right. So I think that's all there is to it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, have fun with it, and I would love it if you could, you know, show me some of the stuff you make with this. Now, of course, you can just change the text and render it, but if you do something cool with it or whatever you want to do with it, leave a link to your video. Would be awesome. Have a fantastic day. See you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.